everyone. Welcome to PHTV4. I'm Sue Jankowski, and today we are talking about the police update. We like to bring different police officers in, give you a chance to visit with them, learn about them a little bit. And today we have Palos Heights Police Sergeant Mike Mathis. Thanks for coming in, Mike.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mike just actually was newly promoted to sergeant, so that is a great accomplishment. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I guess we all want to know about the responsibilities now as you are sergeant, but I guess first of all, just a little bit about your background. How did you get into law enforcement, and how long have you been in law enforcement?
Well, I've been in law enforcement for 27 years about.
Wow.
So I think I was about 22, 23, and then like everybody, I just started taking tests. And it's not a job like we're in the corporate world where if you go and you show up with a resume and if they like you, they hire you. It's based on you take a test, and then if 100 people take the test, they rank you 1 to 100, and then when they start to hire people, they start with number 1, and then they work their way down the list. So when I first started testing, you would take several tests, because if you didn't do well on a test one day, you might be lower in the bottom, but then the next time you take it, you'd be higher, but they'd always start with number 1 and work their way down. So it was always a little bit more difficult sometimes to get on, because it wasn't the true like corporate, if I liked you, based on your resume, I would hire you.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. So there were, back in the day, this was a long time ago, I'm dating myself, but you could take a test with 200 people, and there'd be 200 people on a list, and if they were only hiring, if they plan on hiring 2 people in that year or two, then it was kind of tough to get that spot. So
how often could you take a test like that?
You could take a test as many times as you want. Every department has to have an eligibility list, which is good for 2 years. So every department tests every 2 years. Like we have a test, I think it's coming up in like another week or so. But every 2 years you have to have an eligibility list. So every department would test every 2 years, but there was a website that would show you all the places that were testing, and you would just go down the list, and it was like almost every weekend you were taking a test somewhere. And then just, some days you had better test days than others, and some days you'd be higher, lower, and just it all depended on where you ended up on the list. And so it's just much different than the corporate world.
It really is.
A lot more difficult to get your foot in the door, I guess.
Right, especially when there's so many people vying for so little, few positions.
Right, and some departments might be hiring 10, again, out of 100 or 50, how many people take it. But I went to take tests, and they would tell us, we don't plan on hiring anybody in 2 years, but we have to have this test.
And you don't know. I mean, it might be before 2 years.
Right. Somebody might retire that they didn't know, but if you have 100 people and you're vying for one spot, it's a little tough.
It's a long shot.
Some luck and some studying, and there's a lot that goes into it, I guess.
Well, how did you end up in Palos Heights?
Palos Heights was just the first place to call me. So it's not like where I could be very choosy and say like, I grew up around here, so I knew Palos Heights, but it wasn't like I'm gonna pass on Palos Heights and hope for Chicago Ridge or somewhere else, because the chance of them calling, or based on that list that we were talking about, I might not get called. So I decided to go with the first place that called, and that was Palos Heights. And then while I was hired here, other departments, like when I was on that list, other places would call and be like, okay, you're up on our list. We'd like, are you interested in the job here? But I was already here, and Palos Heights is great. Like, I don't see what else other places could offer that Palos Heights didn't. So I just stayed here the whole entire 27 years.
Well, it's our luck that you have stayed here. We really appreciate everything you do, and that you're right here in Palos Heights. And I'm glad to hear that Palos Heights is a great place to work for.
It is.
Because we want everybody who works here to be satisfied and happy.
Mm-hmm.
What was your inspiration? Like, why law enforcement?
Well, like a lot of people will answer it that in law enforcement they had family that was law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So I had my uncle and my father were police officers, and I kind of figure I wanted to do either the attorney or law enforcement aspect of it, and then I took some classes, and the whole attorney, representing people I know are guilty, but you're just trying to get them a lesser sentence, or or get off of whatever they're charged with, just didn't sit. It didn't really sit for me.
Yeah.
So and then like growing up, like I said, my father was a police officer for the county sheriffs, and so he would tell me, he was a police officer and then like an investigator. He would tell me all the stories about how he would help people, and I was like, I want to do that. Like all these things, these intricate stories about what he did and stuff, and I was like, this is kind of what I want to do. And then like growing up, He was assigned from like the community relations aspect to a local radio station. So he was doing like traffic and reports and stuff for the radio station. They had a county guy and a state policeman, and then I saw like it's not just like on TV where you have like there's traffic stops and then you arrest the bad guys and stuff like that. But there were so many other avenues to it, community relations and things that I wouldn't have thought like you don't just get pigeonholed into one thing. There's such a broad aspect of police work in general. So that intrigued me even more. I'm like, this is something I want to look into. So I went to school and got my degree. Went to Marin Valley and then Governor State. Then I did my internship with Orland Park. And the nice thing about that is you get to see what the daily job is like for real. It's not on TV when they have an hour and they splice in all the action in that hour because no one's going to want you writing paperwork for a half hour. So you got to see what it was in real life and the real things. And Orland Park was kind of similar to a smaller department, like a little bigger, but like comparable to to Palos. So you could see like how it really was, and it just intrigued me. Like they had the different like units, like the bike unit, investigations. So I got to see like different like little things about it, and I said this is what I want to do. So then I started just taking the tests, and like I said, Palos Heights was the first one to call, and that's where I went and just stayed.
Well, it sounds like so many people, like you want to be in a helping profession. You like people, you want to do things for them, and we're really grateful, our police department, and you are, helping. I know I can call someone here and I have, because I have a question, I have a problem, whatever, and you're going to get a nice response and help.
Right.
And so that's a great avenue to go into.
And this is a very community-oriented police department. It's smaller, it's got a good relationship with the people, and everyone knows each other. It's not like when you work in Chicago, do you know Officer so-and-so? There's 10,000 people. Like, they don't even know each other.
No.
Here, everybody knows everybody. It's a nice community aspect and a family relationship, and it's just really nice.
It really is, yeah. And you can feel that, when you get to know the police officers here, you get to know that they are working with the community and to make it better, safer, the best. So in a typical day, or is there a typical day, and now your assignment has maybe changed a little bit. Like, what would be a typical day for you?
It's a change a little bit. I mean, it's a smaller department, so like we don't have 100 people working. Like we're kind of we're smaller. So I mean, the typical day would be like starting with like a roll call and going over the emails, previous shifts, what happened, what are the daily assignments, like is there going to be a block party or an event or extra patrol on houses, or what's the daily task, are we looking for somebody specific, that the investigations are looking for that we help with, or just the daily day-to-day tasks. I mean, a typical day is a kind of loose term because like you could start with like, okay, you have coffee, and then all of a sudden you're a domestic, and then somebody finds a cat, and then so you deal with that. Then you're at a nursing home for somebody that passed away, and then next thing you know, you're a shots fired call, and then you're doing an interview on the award-winning Palos Heights TV4. So it's like, and it's such a broad spectrum of you don't know what's going to happen. So I mean, it's a typical day of what I know what I want to happen in a typical day. Like everyone goes home safe, and then everything gets done, and there's no stress. But that's just it's not the nature of the job. You don't know what's going to happen, so you just have to be able to roll with it and change and pivot and.
Well, it's unexpected. Like your day is unexpected. There's not like, as a former teacher, you knew. I mean, of course, unexpected things happen, but you have a schedule and a day, and it follows a certain format. This doesn't really. You can have things happen that just kind of come out of the blue.
Right, and then you might have something planned, but if somebody calls for a domestic or something, well, that plan's changed, and now you have to pivot, and everything changes, and that's just the day to day. And after becoming a sergeant, it's kind of the same. Like being on patrol, you still make traffic stops, you'll still answer calls because we're not big enough where I can sit in an office and just watch everybody or dictate what people does. That's not the nature of this place,
Yeah.
So you're out there just with everybody else. You're answering calls and everything, and then the sergeants are assigned like different ancillary duties. So somebody might be in charge of like the 4th of July fest, or in charge of supervising CSOs and doing schedules, the traffic program, just different things that the department has. Training opportunities, like the sergeant would be in charge of like a specific shift, so they might have like 3 or 4 people like on that shift with them. So you'd be responsible for the day-to-day operations of that shift, making sure that they have everything they need to succeed. Any problems arise, the training for those guys. When they go on traffic stops, you back them up, and you're just there for them, really. And then you're that liaison between them and like the administration part of it if they need something. And that's like just the day-to-day. But then there's also, like I said, those ancillary duties where you might have to work on a fest, a couple months from now, and you're in charge of it. So you have to allocate resources and things like that. So those would be like the things that are not the day-to-day, but would tie you up like.
Sounds like more administrative responsibility as a sergeant than you might have had
and that's
earlier.
And that's the hard part too. Is when you're in patrol, like you're going out there, you're go, and then you get this position, and it's still you're still doing work and everything, but it's almost like taking a step back and then being there for the other people.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes hard to turn it off. Like I've only done this for a short time, and on nights I'm still like trying to go out there and like DUIs, this and that, and I just tell myself like sometimes that's you have to be there for the for the other guys, like back them up on traffic and this and that. So
right.
It's just it's a different kind of work. It's just it's a little bit of an adjustment, than.
Yeah, and this is pretty new, so you have to kind of transition to this new kind of.
And it takes time. There's
the
different aspects of it, but it's it's somewhat of the same, but just a little bit tweaked, I guess.
Do you have any specific goals in mind that you're thinking about, just in general as a police officer, but maybe as a sergeant, like any specific things you want to be working on?
I mean, there's some little projects that try to being in patrol, I've seen things that maybe could be streamlined or made easier to make it easier for the day-to-day operations of patrol. But really, I just want to make sure that the people on my shift get all the resources they need, all the training. I want to make sure that they have everything they need to succeed. If there's something I can do to help. I mean, I have a lot of years of experience since I've been here a very long time. So if I can help with some of that or any training that they want, and even for the whole department. I want to try to make sure that everyone could be mentored in a way that they would be able to take my job tomorrow and be successful at it, because that makes the department better, that makes the officer better, it makes everything better. So I just want to be the supervisor, I guess, that everyone wants to work for, but he's fair, he knows what he's doing, and if there was a problem, he took care of it for me, he looked out for us, but also balancing the responsibilities of it, an administrative, aspect of it from the department, from their end too. There's just some things that have to be done from an administrative aspect too. So you're kind of in the middle a little bit.
You are, and it is nice too to make sure that the people that you're kind of supervising understand your role, so that eventually, when you're doing a different role, they can go into that capacity and already have a comfort in knowing what that entails to do that. That's a good thing.
Right, because them being able to do this job, if they would replace me tomorrow, that's great, because I know, because that means they're comfortable in what they're doing, and we've done our job to make sure that they were trained to be able to do that, the new position.
Yes, exactly. Good. I love this little lightning round we're going to do, because we're going to find out a little bit more about Mike. So here it is, Mike. When you were little, in grade school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, an astronaut. Or
An astronaut,
anything
yeah.
In the space program or NASA.
Fascinating.
And I always wanted to go to space camp, never made it. They still have an adult program, so it could still happen. You never know.
Yeah,
or
Mike,
family space camp.
Oh,
So
that would be fun.
when we go on vacation, to Florida, there'll be the launches. We'll try to go to those, and it always fascinated me. It's always something I wanted to do, which the chances of it were always very low. But there was always that one thing that I kind of.
But I think we all dream about something like that, so that was kind of a fun dream for you. Well, you just mentioned, vacation. So when you go on vacation, what do you like to do? How do you recharge? Is it kind of like you're sitting on a beach kind of vacation, or do you like to do something like get out there and watch that launch and stuff?
I'm not much of a beach person, sun and water. I'm not, it's not really my thing. As a family, we like to go to Florida. Disney, Universal Studios, that's kind of where we usually end up. Sometimes it's not a recharge vacation because there's so much to do, and the kids always want to go do this or that, and
right.
you're getting pulled in all these different directions. It's fun, but sometimes it's not really a recharge when you come back. You seem like you almost did more work by going there.
Yes, you need a vacation from the vacation.
For me, to recharge, if I have some me time, I like to do gaming, virtual reality or PlayStation arcade games. stuff like that. Like if I'm at home, I'll just, I'll play games just because I know it's just my me time. I got an hour, nobody bothers me, and that's just kind of how I recharge. That's just something I like to do that, kind of like just puts
That
me at
does
peace a
take
little
your
bit.
mind off of the day-to-day things that you're doing because you're really kind of focused on that game.
Right, because I don't have to worry about anything else. I'm just focused in on that.
Yeah.
And then when I'm done, I'm like, okay, I had some time to just kind of relax. And
Yeah, exactly. That's a good thing. When you're at Disney or Universal, what's your favorite thing to do there? I have favorite things to do there.
Well, I mean, like for Disney, it's the Star Wars world because like I'm a huge Star Wars
Oh,
nerd.
yeah,
So,
okay.
But all the family, like my daughter would want to go to see princesses.
Oh,
and,
yeah, yeah.
Son would want to go do this other thing. So I mean, everyone's kind of torn in different things, but like that's one thing that when we go, it's like they know they're going to get stuck going there for a little bit. And
Yeah.
that's,
Well, they've really expanded that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So that is fun
Yeah.
for a lot of people. That's good. Okay, what advice would you give students who think about joining into law enforcement? If you were like at a career days type of thing, what would you tell them?
I would say, if it's something that they're going to be doing like in the future, I would say to be careful of what you do now because it affects you later on. And it's, decisions they make. It might be something stupid that they did in college or high school or something they put on social media post. Like that stuff all kind of had tendency to come back.
Yeah.
And I've seen people like not be hired because of something like some little thing that they did in like college that was not a big deal, but maybe it's more of a big deal now, or something that they, we see it all the time on, news media, like somebody will comment on something that, 10 years later, comes back and now it's kind of a huge deal.
Yeah.
I would say that, and then just practicing like dealing with people. I mean, nowadays, and again, this is me being old, it's a different generation where like everyone's got their cell phones and they're walking around with their nose down and everyone's texting and there's really not a lot of people interaction, like self-checkouts, this, that. And this job is all about dealing with people, like every day, like everything they do. And the people's, if I'm dealing with people and what's their problem, because obviously if I'm there, they're having a problem.
Right.
So it's, dealing with the people and being able to talk, communicate, de-escalate, and those are things that, and sometimes I see a little bit less of. But I would say like, practicing doing that and just dealing with people. And knowing, being able to adapt and things like that. That's a huge part of the job.
Well, you are seeing people, not always, but in a very stressful situation, and just trying to get information from them so that you can help them deal with whatever problem they are having. I imagine that takes communication skills that
right. And
really need to develop.
It's being able to just
Yeah.
deal with somebody and have a good, get a relationship right away, and have trust in each other. And sometimes that's lost by. And it's great that the younger generation. I'm not that old, but it's great because like they can explain all this technology stuff to me.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I can help, like because I like I'm pretty good at like dealing with people and de-escalation and stuff, and sometimes I can help with that. And so it's a nice mixture of everything.
It
But
is.
I would just say like the more taking like a speech class or something that kind of helps you deal with like the dealing with people part of it, just the uncomfortableness or whatever. But
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned the social media too, because the things that people put, I don't do any social media, but I know what happens, and they're putting too much information on there, and then they think it's never going to haunt them, but it can.
Yeah.
And so think about what you're doing. As a young person, you think maybe when you're 12 to 21, you can just do and say whatever you want, but
Right.
it can come back to.
And I mean, doing this job, and like I have kids, 17 and 10, so I know like with the phones and like I know what can happen, and
Yeah.
it scares me to death
It
because
does.
you try to, police it, but it's difficult, and
It
the stuff
is.
that they do and stuff. It's hard.
It
But it's
is.
it's almost like a kind of a different world than it was like when I grew up. I didn't have phones as readily as they are now, but.
No.
This is just how it is now, and I have
It
to
is.
remember that too.
You
It's,
do. But the talking to each other, I think, is, you were saying, you talk to people a lot. You talk them through their problem. You get information from them. Well, people aren't talking to each other as much,
Right.
Young people. So that's a skill they really would need for law enforcement.
Right,
So,
because you deal with people on a daily basis every
Yeah.
day, and they're at their worst sometimes, and you have to know how to communicate with them and how to try to help them. And
Yeah.
that's dealing with people is just it's a daily.
it
occurrence.
is. Yeah, it is. So, other than your dream job here in Palos Heights as sergeant, what other dream job would you want? Astronaut? Being an astronaut?
Well, I mean, Yes, but there would be a lot to that that would probably make it difficult. Eyesight and things. I don't know if I would really qualify for that, but I would say a dream job would be probably in like the movie or entertainment industry.
Oh, yeah.
And because and I've learned from help volunteering here at Channel 4. The video, the editing, you can multiple people can have like record the same video, and at the end, the person's like perspective and like how they want to view it. You'll get all these different outcomes, but everyone had the same thing to begin with, and it's just how
I put things together.
Yes, and it's like the creative freedom and to be able to do that and have this finished product at the end of how I wanted it to look, and I always enjoyed it, and that's one of the reasons I came here, and I've been here for you guys have let me stay here for a little while and kind of help out and work the cameras and the editing and stuff. So that's just, I think I would be in some sort of field with that, with the
That's good.
creativity part of it.
Yeah, I like that. Mike does do a lot of volunteer work here at Channel 4 for us, and he does, I'm not kidding when I say you do an absolutely fabulous job with editing and camera work and all that. We're so lucky to have Mike as a volunteer here. But I think that's kind of fun that it's like a springboard, in case you need a second job someday.
Right, I'll be retiring and I have something to fall back on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're right about you can make that story be what you think it should be based on what you're working with, and that is fun. So
the outcomes are they're always different, but it's your perspective, and it's just fun. It's like it's creative, and it's it's just something I enjoyed, and I was able to to start trying it here, and it was everything I thought it would be. Just maybe not on a larger like Disney scale, but it's
we're shooting for the Disney scale.
Oh, I know. We're getting there.
We're doing it. We're getting
there.
Well, Mike, thanks so much for coming in. It's been great for me to hear more about you, and I know our viewers are really interested in our police department. We're so fortunate to have such a wonderful police department that keeps our town safe, secure, and we've got people like Mike, and especially we have Mike. And so thanks for being here in Palos Heights, and thanks for coming in today.
No, thanks. It's a little bit different on this side of the camera, but hopefully it went okay.
It is, but it's great. It's great. And thanks for watching us. I hope you enjoyed this police update here in Palos Heights. Thanks for watching us. See you next time. Bye-bye.